My name is Phyllis P.H. Hines, and I'm 32. I'm a corporate lawyer at a mid-sized firm in Denver, the kind of lawyer people forget exists until their entire world is about to collapse. I don't do courtroom drama. I don't give speeches that end with gasps. I read contracts, hundreds of pages of them. I hunt for missing commas, hidden clauses, and polite sentences that quietly destroy people's lives. Most days, my job is painfully boring, but it pays for my downtown condo, my student loans, and the carefully controlled life I've built for myself. A life that doesn't depend on anyone else, especially not my brother. My older brother, Michael Hines, is 35, and for nearly 4 years, we didn't speak. Not because of some explosive family betrayal or screaming match at a holiday dinner. It started smaller than that, like most permanent damage does. When our father got sick, Michael thought I didn't show up enough. I thought Michael treated Dad's illness like a corporate takeover, every decision controlled, every opinion overridden. Words were said, pride took over, and neither of us wanted to be the first one to admit we might be wrong. So we didn't. Months turned into years. I changed my number. I moved apartments. I buried myself in work and told myself silence was peace. It wasn't. Michael was always my opposite. While I was grinding through law school, living on coffee and deadlines, he was building his tech company out of his garage. What started as basic app development grew into full-scale software solutions for small businesses. By the time we stopped talking, Hines Solutions had 50 employees and was pulling in serious money, multi-million-dollar revenue. Michael built everything from nothing. And then he married Sarah. I met her twice. Once at their engagement party, where she clung to Michael's arm like a trophy she'd just won. And once at their wedding, where she looked radiant in that very curated, very intentional way, like someone who believed she'd finally stepped into the life she deserved. Sarah was polished. Designer handbags, perfect hair, LinkedIn posts about building empires together. The kind of woman who called herself a partner in success after dating a CEO for a year. At the time, I told myself I was being unfair. Michael looked happy. That was supposed to be enough. After our falling out, I disappeared from his life completely. My mom tried to fix things at first, dropping hints, suggesting calls, begging us to talk. Eventually, she stopped. I told myself that meant I'd won. 8 months ago, that illusion shattered. I was in my office late one afternoon, buried under paperwork for an acquisition deal, when my assistant buzzed my phone. "There's a Sarah Hines here to see you," she said. "She says it's urgent, business-related." The name didn't immediately hit me. Hines isn't exactly rare, and I'd trained myself not to think about my brother. Thinking about him felt like touching something broken just to confirm it still hurt. "Send her in," I said. A minute later, the door opened. Sarah walked into my office looking like she was barely holding herself together. Her suit was flawless, expensive, tailored, intentional. But her eyes were red, swollen, raw. Not tired. Cried too much red. She sat down quickly, gripping a thick folder like it was the only thing keeping her upright. "Ms. Hines," she said, voice shaking, "I really need your help." Something in my chest tightened. She didn't say Phyllis. She didn't hesitate. She didn't recognize me. At my firm, I go by P.H. Hines professionally. My business cards, my office plaque, everything. I started using my initials years ago. Cleaner, more neutral, more serious. Apparently invisible too. "My husband is in a coma," Sarah continued, eyes glistening. "I have to manage his business affairs, but there are complications." I folded my hands, forcing myself into lawyer mode. "I'm sorry to hear that," I said evenly. "What kind of complications?" She opened the folder and slid documents across my desk. Power of attorney forms, ownership transfer paperwork, corporate filings. "My husband owns a tech company," she said. "Hines Solutions. He's been in a coma for 2 weeks after a car accident. The doctors say it could be months, if he wakes up at all." The room felt suddenly smaller. "There is only one Hines Solutions. My brother's company." Sarah kept talking, unaware that she was explaining my brother's possible death to his own sister. "What exactly do you need help with?" I asked, my voice steady enough to fool her, and barely steady enough to fool myself. "I need to transfer ownership to maintain business continuity," she said. "Michael's business partner has been helping me through this. We think it's best if he takes controlling interest until Michael recovers." Business partner. Michael didn't have one. "Who is this partner?" I asked. A smile crossed her face. Small, intimate, wrong. "Tyler Brooks," she said. "He's been incredible during all of this." I flipped through the documents slowly. The signatures looked off. The dates didn't align. The notary stamp was cheap, online, questionable, borderline illegal. I asked questions, calm ones, professional ones. And Sarah answered everything, because people talk when they think they're safe. And Michael's family, I asked casually, have they been consulted? She waved her hand dismissively. His parents are old. They don't understand business, she said. And he has a sister, but they haven't spoken in years. She rolled her eyes. Phyllis, I think her name is. Total loser. Paper-pushing lawyer type. Michael had to cut her out of his life. I felt something cold settle in my stomach. The loser sister, sitting right in front of her. I see, I said quietly. And Mr. Brooks' compensation? Oh, he's being generous, Sarah replied. He's only taking 60% ownership. The rest stays with Michael. Only. As if stealing most of a company from a man in a coma was some noble sacrifice. I nodded, took notes, told her I needed time to review everything and conduct proper due diligence. She looked relieved, grateful even. I knew you'd understand, she said, standing up. Thank you for helping us do the right thing. When the door closed behind her, the silence hit like a punch. I sat there for a moment, staring at the documents. Then I picked up my phone, and I called the one person I swore I wouldn't call again. Mom, I said the second she answered, I need you to tell me everything about Michael's accident, right now. Because if my brother was fighting for his life, and his wife was trying to steal everything he built, then this wasn't just business anymore. There was a long pause on the other end of the line. Then my mother's voice cracked. Oh, Phyllis, thank God it's you. That alone told me everything Sarah hadn't. Mom, I said quietly, gripping my phone, tell me exactly what happened to Michael. She took a shaky breath and started from the beginning. Michael had been hit by a delivery truck that ran a red light. Massive internal injuries, broken ribs, a traumatic brain injury. The doctors had put him into a medically induced coma to control the swelling. 2 weeks in, they were cautiously optimistic, but no one could give a timeline. He's stable, Mom said, but it's touch and go. Every day feels like waiting for the floor to drop out. And Sarah? I asked. Another pause, longer this time. She hasn't been letting us visit much, Mom admitted. She says it upsets her too much, that it's better if Michael rests. My jaw tightened. Has she been handling his business affairs? She says she is, Mom replied. But something isn't right. She's been acting strange. There's a man with her all the time. Tall, confident, always answering questions for her. I didn't need to ask his name. Tyler Brooks, I said. Mom inhaled sharply. Yes, how did you... I'm about to know everything about him, I said. Mom, don't confront Sarah. Don't sign anything, and don't tell her you spoke to me. Phyllis, what's going on? I'll explain soon, I said. I promise. I just need you to trust me. When I hung up, the air in my office felt heavy, like the room knew something ugly was about to surface. For the next 3 days, I did what I do best. I dug. First, Michael's company. Sarah had painted this picture of a business in chaos, struggling without leadership. That was the first lie. Within an hour, I confirmed that Hines Solutions was operating smoothly. The CFO, Rebecca Chen, had stepped in seamlessly. Revenues were stable. Clients hadn't left. Employees were calm. Then I pulled the corporate governance documents. And there it was, a beautifully drafted contingency clause, one Michael had clearly spent time thinking through. If he became incapacitated, Rebecca Chen was named temporary executive, overseen by the board of directors. Sarah wasn't mentioned. Not once. No expanded authority, no ownership transfer power, nothing. That alone made my stomach turn. Second, I ran a background check on Tyler Brooks, and that's when things got impressive. Tyler wasn't a savvy consultant. He was drowning. His marketing agency was 3 months away from bankruptcy. He owed the IRS just over $200,000. 2 fraud lawsuits were already pending from previous ventures that had mysteriously collapsed. His credit was shot. His reputation was worse. This man wasn't rescuing my brother's company. He was trying to use it as a life raft. Then I found the third piece, the one that made my hands go cold. 6 months earlier, Sarah had taken out a $500,000 life insurance policy on Michael. Not just life, permanent disability too. Taken out quietly, recently, legally. But paired with everything else, it told a story she didn't want anyone reading. I leaned back in my chair, staring at the ceiling. I could report her, I could call the authorities. I could expose everything immediately. But suspicion isn't proof, and I needed proof of intent. I needed her to show exactly what she was willing to do. So I picked up my phone. Sarah, I said when she answered, I've reviewed the documents. There are a few issues we need to address. Her voice sharpened instantly. Issues? Nothing major, I assured her smoothly. Just details that need to be handled properly if you want this transfer to be bulletproof. She relaxed audibly. I was thinking, I continued, it would be best to formalize everything. All parties present, witnesses, recorded. That way no one can ever question your intentions. She loved it. In fact, she suggested holding the meeting at Michael's company offices to show continuity to the employees. I agreed. Before we ended the call, I had her sign an engagement letter, officially making me her legal counsel for the transaction. She didn't read it. If she had, she would have noticed the clause allowing recording of all meetings for quality assurance and legal protection. Next, I reached out to Rebecca Chen. She didn't believe me at first. Michael had told everyone we were estranged, and honestly, she had every reason to be suspicious. So I sent proof, family photos, childhood details, things only his sister would know. When it clicked, her relief was immediate. Thank God, she said. I knew something was wrong, but I didn't know how to stop it. Rebecca had been fighting quietly for weeks, blocking Sarah's attempts to access company funds, documenting every suspicious request, watching Tyler hover around the office like he owned the place. She's been trying to get employees to sign loyalty pledges, Rebecca told me. Half the staff is ready to quit if she takes over. They won't have to, I said. Trust me. We coordinated fast. Rebecca would arrange for the entire board of directors to attend the meeting. I hired a legal assistant for the day, who was actually a process server. Everything was lining up. But that night, I did something I hadn't planned on. I went to the hospital, late enough that Sarah wouldn't be there. Michael looked small. Machines hummed softly around him. Tubes, wires, beeping monitors marking time he couldn't feel. I pulled a chair close and sat beside him. I don't know if you can hear me, I whispered, but it's Phyllis. I talked. About work, about stupid cases, about the fight we never resolved. And then I told him everything. About Sarah, about Tyler, about the company. I apologized for my pride, for the silence, for letting 4 years pass without fixing what mattered. Halfway through, I felt it. A twitch. Barely noticeable, just a slight movement of his fingers. The nurse rushed in. He's responding to your voice, she said softly. Keep talking. So I did, for hours. The next morning, my phone rang at 5:12 a.m. Ms. Hines, the nurse said, there's increased activity. The doctors think he may wake up soon. I stared at the wall, heart pounding. The timeline just changed, and I knew one thing for certain. Whatever Sarah and Tyler thought they were about to steal, they were running out of time. 3 days later, Sarah walked back into my office like she owned it. This time she didn't come alone. Tyler Brooks followed a step behind her, wearing a pinstriped suit that was trying far too hard to look expensive. Everything about him screamed performance. Confident stride, polished smile, eyes that never stopped scanning the room like he was already calculating his next advantage. I stood and offered my hand. Mr. Brooks, I said pleasantly, I'm P.H. Hines. Tyler, he replied, gripping my hand a little too firmly. I've heard good things. Of course you have, I thought. They sat across from me, close enough that their knees brushed. Sarah leaned toward him instinctively, like she drew strength from his presence, or validation. I clicked my pen. Before we move forward, I said, I need to fully understand the scope of your involvement with Hines Solutions. Mr. Brooks, Sarah mentioned you've been consulting for the company. Tyler leaned back, folding his hands like he was settling into a stage monologue. Consulting is a modest way to put it, he said. Michael and I worked closely for years. Strategy, product direction, client acquisition. I've basically been behind the scenes keeping the ship afloat. Interesting. And do you have documentation of these contributions? I asked calmly. Well, he said with a shrug, it was more of a handshake arrangement. Michael trusted me. Sarah nodded quickly. Michael never liked paperwork. I smiled. I see. And Sarah, I asked gently, when did you become aware of Tyler's contributions? She glanced at him before answering. About 8 months ago, she said. Tyler helped me see how much Michael was taking him for granted. Tyler leaned forward, eyes gleaming. I built half that company, he said. This transfer just makes things fair. I let them talk. That was the easiest part. They talked about accessing company systems to prepare for the transition, about moving money between accounts for security, about employees who might need to be replaced if they resisted change. And Rebecca Chen, I asked, pretending curiosity. What's the plan there? Tyler scoffed. She's a problem. Too loyal to Michael. We'll need to discredit her, Sarah added casually. Make it look like she's been embezzling or something. I felt my nails dig into my palm. They were planning to destroy an innocent woman's career without blinking. And Michael's family? I asked. What if they contest this? Sarah laughed. Actually laughed. His parents trust me completely, she said. And that loser sister of his probably doesn't even know he's in the hospital. Tyler snorted. Even if she did, what's a paper-pushing lawyer going to do? The irony burned. By the time they left, my recording system had captured everything, every lie, every confession, every plan. That afternoon, I met Rebecca and 3 board members at a coffee shop no one from Heinz Solutions would ever visit. A place that charged $12 for avocado toast and took itself far too seriously. Rebecca looked exhausted. She's been circling like a vulture, she said, pulling up emails on her laptop, trying to manipulate staff, promising promotions, threatening layoffs. One board member, Frank, slammed his hand on the table. She tried to get me to sign over my voting rights. Claimed Michael requested it before the accident. He didn't, another board member, Patricia said. She created a fake email account pretending to be him. Clients called me directly because it didn't sound right. I nodded. Document everything, I said. We're going to let them finish what they started. The meeting was set for Thursday afternoon. But Thursday morning came with a call I wasn't expecting. 5:03 a.m. Phyllis, the nurse said, breathless. He's awake. I was at the hospital in 20 minutes. Michael looked weak, but alert. The moment he saw me, his eyes filled. Is it true? He whispered. About Sarah? I didn't sugarcoat it. I showed him everything. He watched in silence, jaw tight, eyes hollowing, with every revelation. I knew something was wrong, he said finally. I just didn't want to see it. He squeezed my hand. You're saving my company while I was unconscious. I swallowed hard. I should have never disappeared. He shook his head. We were both idiots. We recorded the video that morning. Michael insisted on sitting up, on fixing his hair. I want her to see me, he said quietly. By noon, the boardroom was full. Sarah arrived glowing. Tyler looked smug. They thought they were minutes away from winning. They had no idea they were walking into the end. By the time everyone took their seats, the conference room felt charged. The full board of directors lined one side of the table. Key department heads filled the chairs along the wall. My legal assistant stood quietly near the door, clipboard in hand, eyes alert. To anyone else, she looked forgettable. To me, she was a process server with perfect timing. Sarah sat beside Tyler at the head of the table, her posture confident, almost celebratory. She'd changed again. New dress, new heels, new hair. Grief, apparently, came with a wardrobe upgrade. I stood, clicked the recorder on, and began. For the record, I said evenly, this meeting concerns the proposed transfer of controlling interest in Heinz Solutions, Inc. due to the temporary incapacitation of its founder, Michael Heinz. I went through the formalities. Names, roles, confirmations. Then I looked at Sarah. Mrs. Heinz, I said, you're claiming power of attorney for your husband, correct? Yes, she replied smoothly. And you state that Michael Heinz has no capable family members to consult on this matter? That's correct, she said without hesitation. His parents are elderly, and his sister, well, she's not involved in his life. I nodded slowly. And Mr. Brooks, I continued, turning to Tyler, you claim to have been Michael Heinz's business partner for how long? Tyler straightened. 2 years. We built the company together. Interesting. Because, I said calmly, sliding a document across the table, I have corporate filings showing Michael Heinz as 100% owner. Tyler's face flushed. Well, I mean, not officially, he stammered, but I consulted extensively. And this transfer of 60% ownership, I said, is purely for business continuity? Exactly, Sarah cut in. We're doing this for Michael. How noble, I murmured. I closed the folder. One final question, I said. Are either of you familiar with Colorado Revised Statute 18-5-102? They exchanged blank looks. That statute defines criminal fraud, I said. Specifically, the forging of legal documents and the attempted theft of assets exceeding $100,000. The room went silent. You see, I continued, voice steady, the power of attorney documents you submitted are not just invalid. I slid another document forward. They're criminal forgeries. Sarah's face drained of color. The notary whose stamp you used, I added, died 3 years ago. Hard to notarize documents from beyond the grave. Tyler shot to his feet. This is ridiculous. And Mr. Brooks, I said sharply, those corporate filings you submitted last week attempting to add yourself as a board member? Also fraudulent. Filing false corporate documents is a federal offense. Tyler bolted. He made it exactly 2 steps before my assistant blocked the door. Tyler Brooks, she said crisply, you've been served. She handed him the papers. Civil suit, fraud, conspiracy. Security was already outside. Sarah stood frozen, lips trembling. "You tricked me," she snapped. "This is entrapment." "Actually," I said calmly, standing, "you engaged me as your legal counsel. Everything you told me was voluntary. An attorney-client privilege doesn't apply when legal services are used to commit a crime." She glared at me. "Who do you think you are?" I took off my jacket and rolled up my sleeve. On my forearm was a small line of binary code. Sarah stared at it. "I'm Phyllis Hines," I said quietly. "Michael's sister, the loser you've been talking about." The room erupted. Rebecca stood. "As the legally designated executive during Mr. Hines's incapacitation, I am formally banning both of you from company property." Sarah shrieked. "Michael will hear about this when he wakes up." I smiled. "Oh," I said, pulling out my phone. "He already has." I pressed play. Michael's face filled the screen, pale, tired, but awake. "Hi, Sarah," he said softly. "Surprised?" Her mouth fell open. "We're done," he continued. "The divorce papers are already filed. And that prenup you signed, the one that leaves you nothing if you commit fraud, that's about to matter a lot." The room exploded. Employees clapped. Board members stood. Sarah just stared, shattered. The sound that stayed with me the longest wasn't Sarah's scream. It was the silence that followed. The kind of silence that happens when everyone in the room realizes the story they were just watching has ended, and the consequences are already in motion. Security escorted Tyler out first. He tried to posture, tried to argue, tried to threaten lawsuits. None of it landed. He looked smaller with every step he took toward the door, like a man watching his future collapse in real time. Sarah was last. She didn't fight at first. She just stood there, frozen, eyes darting around the room as if waiting for someone, anyone, to save her. No one did. Within hours, everything unraveled. The board voted unanimously to reaffirm Rebecca Chen as interim CEO. All of Sarah's access to company systems was revoked. The recordings, the forged documents, and the fraudulent filings were turned over to the authorities. Sarah hired a lawyer within 24 hours. She tried every angle: emotional distress, temporary insanity due to grief, manipulation by Tyler. Her attorney lasted exactly one meeting with the evidence before advising her to accept whatever deal was offered. The prenup was airtight. The attempted fraud nullified every claim she thought she had. She walked away with nothing. Tyler's fall was faster and harder. Federal charges followed quickly. Fraud, conspiracy, filing false corporate documents. His prior cases came back to haunt him. He pleaded guilty to avoid prison time, landed probation, and was ordered to pay restitution he couldn't afford. His agency collapsed. Last I heard, he was working nights at a car rental desk near the airport. Michael's recovery surprised everyone. Doctors said having something to fight for mattered. He was back part-time in 2 months, full-time by month 3. The company never missed a beat, thanks to Rebecca, who was promoted to COO and earned every ounce of it. A week after the confrontation, I met Michael in his hospital room. Really met him. We talked for hours, about Dad, about our fight, about the years we lost to pride. "You know," he said quietly, "I never called you a loser." I smiled sadly. "I figured." "She made that up," he said, probably to justify what she already wanted to do. We promised each other something that day. No more silence. No more waiting. Sunday dinners became routine again. Mom cried every time. Dad pretended not to. Michael started dating a nurse he met during his recovery. Someone grounded, someone kind, someone who never once asked about his net worth. Rebecca jokes she'll run a background check anyway. 3 months later, Sarah tried to contact me. A long voicemail. Tears. Excuses. Claims she'd been manipulated. That she still loved Michael. I forwarded it to our lawyer and blocked her number. The Bar Association reviewed everything I did. They cleared me completely and commended me for stopping a major fraud. Turns out, when someone asks you to help them commit a crime, you're allowed to stop them. The conference room where it all happened now has a plaque. The truth room, in this room, fraud dies and family wins. It's cheesy, but it's earned. I keep a photo on my desk now. Michael and me at a company barbecue, both of us holding up our arms to show matching tattoos we got in college. Sarah never noticed his. Never asked what it meant. That told me everything. If there's a lesson here, it's this. Read what you sign. Trust your instincts. And don't let pride steal years you'll never get back. Family